Okay, let's go back in time a little. Picture this, it's 2014. India announces this incredible moonshot mission, but not for space, no, for its own city streets. The plan? To build 100 brand new, futuristic, smart cities. And this wasn't just some infrastructure project, you know? It was sold as the dream of a new India, and it totally captured the nation's imagination.
I mean, the promise was just spectacular. We're talking about cities with AI-powered everything, zero traffic, spotless roads, basically bringing European standards to India. But what's the reality on the ground today? Well, you've got crippling gridlock in Bangalore, where a 10-kilometer trip can take 2 hours. You've got toxic air in Delhi that's literally like smoking 10 cigarettes a day. And of course, the annual floods in Mumbai that just bring the entire city to a standstill. So yeah, the gap between what was promised and what we got is just staggering. But here's the kicker. If you look at the official government numbers, you'd think the whole thing was a massive success. The government actually claims that a whopping 94% of the projects under this mission are already complete. 94%. But that number just doesn't line up with what people are saying on the ground, does it? This quote really sums it up. There's this massive, massive disconnect between the government's official report card and the actual lived experience of its citizens. Which brings us to the big question we're tackling in this explainer. With so much promise, all this money, and this grand vision to completely transform urban India, where did the dream go so wrong? Let's find out.
Okay, so before we really tear this apart and look at the failures, it's super important to understand the problem this whole mission was trying to solve in the first place. This wasn't just some vanity project. It was a response to a very real and very big crisis brewing in India's cities. And at the heart of that crisis is something called the urban-rural imbalance. Think of it like a vicious cycle. You have megacities like Mumbai getting dangerously overcrowded, which puts a huge strain on their infrastructure. At the very same time, you have entire states like Bihar being drained of their best and brightest talent. That means less investment, no new industries, and even more people leaving. It's a lose-lose situation for everyone. And this chart, wow, it just lays out how huge this problem is. Just look at this. The city of Mumbai on its own generates a GDP of $277 billion. Now compare that to the entire state of Bihar, a state sitting on massive reserves of coal, gemstones, even gold. Mumbai's GDP is more than double the entire state's. Think about that for a second. A single city is out-earning an entire resource-rich state. And that economic gap, it hits people right in the wallet. The average person living in Mumbai earns nearly 10 times more than someone in Bihar. An enormous difference like that is what's fueling this whole migration crisis.
So to fix this, the Smart City Mission was officially launched on June 25th, 2015. And it wasn't just India that was excited, you know? The whole world wanted in. Countries like the US, Japan, Germany, and big companies like Siemens and Hitachi all came forward offering to help. The stage was set for a revolution.
But that revolution never really happened. So now, let's get into the investigation, the story of missteps, flawed plans, and missed opportunities. Where exactly did it all go wrong?
You can basically break down the failure into 3 main layers. First, there was some serious financial mismanagement. Second, the government made these flawed strategic pivots that honestly created more problems than they solved. And third, the whole system was just weak, which led to a focus on things that didn't matter.
So let's start with the money. Now, you'd probably assume the issue was not enough funding, right? But the shocking truth is, it was the exact opposite. Get this. By the end of 2017, of all the money the central government had released for these projects, a staggering 93% of it was just sitting in bank accounts, completely unspent. Only 7% was actually used. Now, to fix this paralysis, the government tried a big strategic pivot. They created these things called Special Purpose Vehicles, or SPVs. In theory, the idea was pretty clever. They were supposed to be these nimble new companies for each city, designed to cut through all the red tape and get projects done fast. The problem, by creating this whole parallel power structure, they often just ended up fighting with the city's own elected officials, which created even more gridlock, not less. Another key part of the strategy was relying on public-private partnerships, or PPPs.
The idea was that private companies would chip in and co-invest, but so often that model completely fell apart. Just take Patna, for example. The original plan had 44 projects and a budget of over 2,700 crores, but the private funding, it just never showed up. So by 2022, the plan was gutted. Projects were slashed, the budget was cut by 2/3, and the city's smart vision was pretty much dead in the water. And then there was this area-based development strategy. The whole idea was to pick one tiny neighborhood in a city and make it perfect, like a model showcase. But what that created in places like Jaipur was basically a tale of two cities. You had this tiny, beautified showroom area that got new lights and footpaths, while the rest of Jaipur, where most people actually live, was left with the same old broken roads, bad drainage, and traffic chaos. Which brings us to what might be the most frustrating failure of all, the vanity projects. Look at Ajmer. It had a budget of over 1,800 crores. And what did they prioritize? A food court, which was later demolished, and a replica of the Seven Wonders, which is now being removed. All while the city's real problems, broken drainage, failing sewage systems, no proper footpaths, were just completely ignored. So after digging through the rubble of this broken promise, what are the big hard lessons we can actually take away for the future of India's cities? What's the takeaway here? Well, it really boils down to three crucial things. First, decentralized power. You have to give real control to the local city governments, the people who actually know their communities. Second, prioritize the basics. It's simple, right? You can't put a smart sensor on a broken pipe. Water, sewage, and roads have to come before the fancy tech. And third, we as citizens have to demand real progress, not just shiny marketing campaigns. We have to hold leaders accountable for results you can actually see and feel. And all of this leaves us with one final, and I think really critical question. In a country that is grappling with such deep, fundamental infrastructure challenges, is layering smart technology on top of it all really the answer? Or is it just a distraction from the much harder, much messier work that truly needs to be done? Something to think about.